Today, I'm going to teach you some of the biggest secrets to call zones in Apex Legends. These tips will give immediate results to how often you make endgames and ultimately win matches. Let's get into it. So what even is zone calling? Zone calling is basically predicting where the final rings are going to pull and making rotation plans based on that. It's something that top ranked and pro players do constantly without even realizing it. And by the end of this guide, you can too. So zones in Apex Legends do have relatively set algorithms, and there are cycles of common endings which change usually around every patch or new split or season. The reason I say relatively is because in Apex Legends, it is a game of RNG. There sometimes will be straight up zones that are unpredictable, and that's part of the game. But before we continue with the guide, if you're looking to take your Apex game to the next level, I just created a website where I take my 6 years of pro experience to coach you one-on-one. From ranked coaching to 1v1 coaching, all the way to fundamental coaching, and you can schedule your sessions now. God, that subscribe button looks so good. Anyways, let's get back to the guide. Hitting a beacon scan as early as possible is super important because the first ring is almost impossible to guess the ending from. And the goal isn't to just run to the center either. It's about figuring out your positioning for the next 2 to 3 rings. Most zone pulls follow set patterns, and if you play regularly, you'll start to notice them as well. Use what zone knowledge you already have, and if none, there's a website that almost all pros use called apexlegendsstatus.com. The link will be in the description. This website compiles all common endings on every map for you to be able to look at any point and see the current set of common endings. So once you're on this website, you're going to want to navigate to tournaments. Once you get to tournament, you're going to click down here in the bottom left that says Map Atlas. Once this loads up, you might initially have zone POIs turned on. I recommend turning this off just because it looks like garbage. And then you can go to Ending Rings Public. This will be for the current ranked set. There's ALGS endings that you can look at if you like the comp sort of thing, but we're specifically going to look at the current set of endings. This tool is extremely useful because it tells you where zones can and can't end. For example, on E-District, it is completely impossible for zones to end in Galleria or even Shipyard, unless you're that one motherfucker. Each map has its own set of common endings. On World's Edge, the majority of these zones pull kind of south, and if they don't pull south, you'll see they kind of cluster in Monument, Climatizer, and Skyhook. So having that knowledge can help set you up of where it's not super likely. So for example, it's not super common to see Overlook endings. It's not common to see Geyser endings. And it's also not very common to see Lava Fissure or back Skyhook endings as well. You can see more often than not, if it's south, it's probably ending Thermal, somewhere between Siphon and Harvester. And if not there, it'll probably be Dome. And having this information helps you narrow down very easily where the possible zone will end. So if we go to Storm Point, you'll see that most zones kind of generally pull to the center of the map. If not, it's kind of in the southeastern quadrant for most of the zones. The outliers in the north are pretty self-explanatory. It's always north side wall. But you'll see Zeus doesn't have a lot of endings. This north side of Lightning Rod doesn't either. There's not really any endings in Cenote Cave or Checkpoint. And lastly, for E-District, you can see most zones pull towards the center of the map, and the edges really don't have much endings at all. Another example is that resort zones don't really exist. North side of Lotus doesn't exist. Not many Neon on the north side. Street Market has very few. Shipyard has only 1. Galleria has 0. So learning this information becomes very advantageous because you can learn where zones can and can't end. And you can also pick up on common trends as well. I'm also going to teach you guys some basics on how the zone itself functions. So Respawn confirmed this a few years ago, essentially explaining the zone algorithms and how they function. They essentially said when the next ring shifts, it tries to center itself out, but zones cannot end in unplayable spaces. So for example, if you have like a ring 2 that's something similar like this, because this is touching on an unplayable space, it means it's incredibly likely that the zone itself could just end up pulling fully to that hard edge because it has to center itself out, but it can't center itself out with the unplayable space here at the top. But if we create another scenario where ring 1 and ring 2 look something like this, where the touching point is in playable area, it is actually incredibly likely that that third ring pull centers itself out somewhere within this circle, thus making the ring 3 pull likely to be something along the lines of this, instead of continuing to pull to that edge. When trying to make zone calls, look at where the first and second ring are touching, if at all, and then look if it's in playable or unplayable space. These will give big indicators of where the pullbacks may or may not be happening. The biggest question I get all the time is, should I play to scan zone 2 or zone 3? It's worth noting that ring 3 scan is usually the biggest info drop. In most cases, if the zone is going to do an unpredictable pullback, round 3 scan tells you if it does shift dramatically. If it does shift, this creates the opportunity to get the God spot almost or entirely uncontested due to the early rotating teams calling zone wrong. This is an incredibly consistent playstyle done by even some pro teams. But ultimately, if you're very confident in knowing where the zone is going off of ring 2, it is 100% worth it just to trust your gut and go with the positioning early. So let the confidence in your zone call determine if you go on ring 2 or for ring 3 info. The best advice I can give when learning zone pulls is to scan either ring 2 or ring 3 and go to the dead center of that green zone. That way you'll be in a decent spot despite whichever direction the zone shifts. Hope you got the notepad out, because zone calling is only the first step in improving your games. You also need to make smart rotations. Early rotations let you set up and gatekeep positions, but they come with risks. You will often be at an armored disadvantage compared to the ed teams, so make sure it is a strong position that you're playing for. Later rotations are risky, but they can work with mobility legends or if you have a ton of meds. It is also worth noting that comboing a UAV scan character will allow you to take full advantage of the zone scan information. If you would like a more in-depth guide on macro, micro positioning and rotations, leave a comment down below and let me know. But for now, here are some basic rotation tips. 1. Always rotate with cover. Never cross wide open spaces if you do not have to. 2. Use utility like Wraith or Ash portals to bypass choke points. If you still struggle, Valkyrie is a great alternative. And lastly, if rotating early, fight only if you gain a better position in doing so, as it's very likely you'll get third party. Now we're going to move on to some of the advanced zone calling tips. If you really want to get the most out of this advice, practice these in your future games. Ring timers. Being in a position to hit the ring console when the first ring shows or right before ring 1 fully closes to scan for ring 3 will allow for the most amount of time to plan and execute rotations. It will also guarantee you are the first one in the match to get the info on the zone, which will allow you to beat other players to the power position. Another tip is paying attention to the kill feed. This will help decide where fights might be breaking out, and then you can use this info to avoid collision or as a third-party opportunity. And lastly, pairing a ring console character with a UAV character is strongly recommended to get the most benefit out of your zone scans and rotations. So to give an example of how effective good zone calling and learning the algorithm can be, here's an example from the ALGS LAN at EWC that happened recently when I was on Furia. So you can see us rotating here into the southwestern most building in east side of Fragment. And this is kind of roughly where I thought the zone was going to be pulling towards because of the recent algorithms and the pullbacks. So this was the last game for grand finals qualification at EWC. And we needed to secure like top 6 to move on to grand finals. But as you guys can see, this secured a free and easy top 3 from the building from ring 1 and led to us having a great game and securing grand finals from my call.
Bad. We need to swing inside.
He's peeking right now.
Guys, climb over the fucking wall. Climb over the fucking wall right now.
Okay.
Shit us out. Care.
I'm really low.
He's PK. Yes, he's fine. We're fine. We have it controlled. They're gonna fight each other now. We're good.
I'm out of cells. Do you need a med kit now?
Here. I dropped the bat.
I think I'm just gonna fly up soon,
They're
guys.
gonna die. Oh, you might die for that. Yeah,
I gotta slide up. I don't have.
Place the barrel.
Slide to me.
Slide left.
Yeah, swing left.
Truck,
Swing the left. He's
on
away.
me.
50 HP.
Okay.
Well, all right. Full team.
Yeah.
You got second.
Nice.
Did we make it? Let's
Yes.
fucking go.
Let's
baby.
fucking go.
And that is a great example of how important making a good zone read can be and just guaranteeing free points for your team. If you want to make more endgames and win matches, zone calling is going to be your secret weapon. Start practicing to think 2 zones ahead, rotate smart, and control your endgame. If you've learned anything from this video, please make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new. I have a ton of guides planned for the future, but if you want something specific, drop it down in the comments below. With that being said, thank you so much for watching the video and stay tuned for more madness.